Ladies and gentlemen, in this episode, you are going to hear opinions. And while the podcast is endorsed by Uriah Heep, the opinions of the host and various guests do not necessarily represent the opinions of the band or any of the members past or present. With that being said, let's celebrate the music of Uriah Heep. Welcome to Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I'll be covering every studio song the band has recorded and every bonus track that I can find. Each week we'll go over a new song from the beginning to where they are currently, and as they keep adding albums, I'll keep adding shows. Let the deep dive party begin.
In the magic garden, some were singing, some were dancing.
Happy Friday, Heapsters, and welcome to another episode of Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I have a great double song episode for you. It's basically the same song, but we've got two different titles, two different versions, and we're going to get into them. The first one is called Footprints in the Snow. That is the song that actually was on the album, and the original version was called Take Care. It's very similar in some aspects, but it's got a completely different sound and feel to it. So you can recognize that it's the same song, but you see how developed it was in a different direction for the album. And it's really cool. I really like these when they do this because it just gives us something really interesting to compare and contrast. But also, it gets you into the mindset of the progression of writing in the band and how they worked. And, you don't get to see we should do this instead of this moments, but you get to see, here was a sketch and here was the final chiseled masterpiece. And I really like being able to take those journeys. They're a lot of fun for me. Hopefully you guys enjoyed them as well. And I say that we get right into it. So we're going to start with the official release song off the album, Footprints in the Snow, from the album High and Mighty by Uriah Heep. Going to say that it's possible that I am off on my musical geography, but I'm going to say that has either a Spanish feel or an Italian feel. And sometimes there's a little bit of crossover between those two. They're both romantic language countries, but also very similar sometimes in sort of the acoustic guitar style music. Spanish is a little more strummed, but I've heard stuff like this, and I've heard stuff like this in Italian music. So I'm not sure exactly which one it feels more like, but it definitely feels like one of them. And I really love that feel. Interesting notes that you probably wouldn't think to necessarily reach for if you're playing a rock song or a pop or a ballad, something like that. But I really like the direction of it. I love the feel. I kind of imagine myself just sitting, in a little grassy patch on the side of a nice river, beautiful day out. Maybe there's some clouds in the sky, but it just gives me such a warm feeling. I really kind of just would love to stay in this moment for a while. In fact, honestly, if the song was just like this in an instrumental, I would be perfectly happy with it. But we get even more surprises.
Just like footprints in the snow. Who knows where my heart will go? Will it lead me to you? Or will I see another empty day?
It's always interesting when somebody sings from this perspective of, am I going to be happy or am I going to be sad? It's almost like the character is waiting for someone to make that decision for them instead of taking charge and saying, you know what, I'm going to find a way, one way or another, to be happy. And the only person that's going to make that happen for sure is me. So I'm just going to take responsibility and do it. I always find those kind of lyrics fascinating because regardless of the story, having to be in that position is always an interesting place to start and see what the character chooses to do. But there's a lot going on here musically. It's a beautiful, gentle vocal for one, but it's also, some really nice strumming going on, a few synthesizers in the background. nothing very heavy, no bass or anything yet, but it just has like just that beautiful motion of just, being in a canoe and just kind of being on the water and floating along with the music. It just has such a good feel to it. And even though the lyrics are a little bit contrary to that relaxed state that I feel in because of the music, I can still feel that way. And I really like that.
Seasons come and quickly go. Kinda makes me wonder if they know why my heart keeps running near and far. If only they could tell me where you are.
Well, I want to stop right here because obviously we're heading into a big change here in the music, but way in the background there is this beautiful electric guitar, very gentle, just picking away and developing a little bit of an atmosphere that you really feel more than you hear. You might pick it out. I'm really like actively searching for sounds when I listen to these songs, but it's something that I hadn't noticed before. It's just so gentle in the background, but it adds such an atmosphere that without it, the song would feel very empty. So I really like that. I love the gentle vocal. I think the backups are a little bit loud, but again, this is actually titled as the final track. So I think that the mix goes along with the album, and I've been fairly consistent from song to song saying that I think that the vocals are a little bit quiet. I think the music overrides them a little bit, which would be fine if you're using vocals as an instrument. But if you're actually using them to tell a story, you kind of want that story out front so that people can get what the story is. So, that's the one thing I would say about this album I don't like is that the mix on the vocals I think is a little weak. But the song itself is beautiful. The music is great. I love the interplay with the backing vocals. Again, nothing crazy, really high harmonies that are, way above range. But it just sounds good. It just has a really good feel to it. And I'm curious to see where it goes now that we're adding in some percussion and presumably bass. This is the thing about these guys is that you just never know where something's going to go. You figure, you hear the drum roll, you figure it's probably going to keep the same tempo and pacing, and you're just going to add the drums and bass component into the song. But no, they have to do it in double time, completely unexpected, but really nicely done on the vocals. Love those little guitar bits in between, those fillers. Really, really nice. I love the style of it. Love the sound of the guitar. And I think I'm going to venture out to say that Ken Hensley was singing in the beginning, and I think that might be David Byron now. I'm not sure, but I'm hearing it might be David Byron. But in any case, it just sounds good. I love those really high vocals in the background that are just kind of, they're slightly displaced to maybe even a little bit ethereal feeling because they're not that bright upfront vocal with the rest of the song. But I love the way it sounds. Really cool part. And then of course they're digressing again down, but man, it's just so unexpected and exciting and exactly what I've come to love about Uriah Heep. I kind of feel like you could have taken some of these short parts and actually written full songs out of them and had half an album. Love the really low vocals there. I love just the high notes that come in here and there. It's all so, I don't want to say the word strategic, even though it might have been, but it just feels so well placed. it's not overkill on anything. Everything's just kind of pushing the level, but not to the point where, okay, I've heard this, let's, make a change or do something. It's like they just do the change and nothing really has a chance to get stale because the song's just moving way too quickly. But it's really good. It's really powerful, very vocal and emotional song. And let's see what happens next. The backups that they've done on this album have been really unique compared to things that they've done on other albums. I really like the sound of it. I love that low, really low vocal in there too. That just thickens things up so nicely. And it's just so powerful. Great verse. There's so many good things I could say about this song, but I kind of just want you to feel it on this one. I kind of want you to immerse yourself in the music and see what you feel on it, because I'm just swimming with emotion here. There's so many colors in this song, and I just love it. Man, I love those long sustained notes. I kept waiting for, there to be a guitar solo there. And it's almost like this section was designed for maybe vocals to be carrying on, maybe some improv or something. But I love that. I love the fact that it's just these long sustained notes, and it could have gone in a completely different direction, but instead it just holds the mood all the way through the fade out. And this is one of the rare fade outs where I'm like, I don't necessarily need to see where it was going because there aren't any changes or anything happening here. That's when I usually want to, hear the fade out, is when, somebody's either during a solo or, maybe the bass is doing different things on every pass, that sort of thing. But in this one, it's just, very powerful. Here's the message, and we're going to keep repeating it. We're going to keep you in that same feeling through the fade. And I think that's fantastic. So that is the studio release version of Footprints in the Snow. And now we're going to take a look at the Take Care version, which was the work in progress on the album. It is listed as a demo version, so it is going to have a completely different mix. And maybe it's better, and maybe it's not. The choice is yours. Here it is. Well, certainly an interesting chord change in there, but it also kind of reminds me a little bit of Paradise. It has that same, strummed acoustic guitar feel to it. I think they might be some of the same accents. That might be why I'm making that connection. But in any case, sounds really good. I love the organ added to that. Really, it goes back to giving me the same feeling that the final version did, just that kind of, laying in a boat, floating along the water and not caring where the water takes me kind of feel. But it sounds really good. Also, as I heard the vocals come in, also kind of Paradise-like, coming in a little bit gentle, not quite as gentle as Paradise, but I found that kind of interesting. Maybe sometimes, too, I think it happens with me and probably a lot of other artists where you're doing something and you just have this natural inclination to do a particular change or approach something a particular way, not realizing that you've probably written it before, or there's some song that's in the back of your head that it reminds you of on a subconscious level, and you make decisions based on that sometimes. Or it could be just, hey, I think this would be cool. I know it sounds like this, but I want to do it anyway. I really don't know. But in any case, it really sounds cool. I'll give it that.
Just like footsteps in the snow. Who knows where my heart will go? Will it lead me to you? Or will I see another empty day?
I'm not sure if that's Ken on both vocals, because usually when he double tracks, he's pretty solid on with himself. But then again, consider the fact that this is a demo version. So this could have just been a scratch track vocal, or maybe the second one was just, I'm just going to lay this down really quick so we get the idea. Remember that I wanted to harmonize myself, or maybe it is David and Ken's voice is just predominant in the mix. I don't know. But in any case, it sounds really good. I love it. I love that it's a double gentle vocal, because it sounds nice and rich and thick, and it's very predominant in the mix. But at the same time, it's sung so gently that it doesn't feel aggressive or overbearing. It's a fine line sometimes, but I like where it sits on this one.
Seasons come and quickly go. Kinda makes me wonder if they know why my heart keeps running near and far. If only they would tell me where you are. If you've ever been in love, then you know the rocky road I'm speaking of. You'll remember when the times were good and the times you had to do without. Think carefully, my friend.
I do like what the organ's doing there. I like how it's subtly been increased throughout the last minute or so. Very powerful. I love that blend of acoustic guitar and organ. The organ isn't very distorted, which is really nice, because I think that would be maybe a little too much with acoustic guitars. But it does sound really good, really strong and powerful. It's interesting, though, there are the same different parts, but it doesn't feel like there's as many different parts. And I think it's because they're not as fully orchestrated. I mean, we're only getting really acoustic guitar and organ at this point. We're not getting all the backups, all that kind of stuff that we were in the other version. So it does feel like there's less changes in there. The changes are more subtle, I should say. But they're there just the same. They just sound a little bit different and less obvious. But overall, I love the feeling of this version. I like that they upgraded it and did a different, heavier, more full production. But I kind of like this too. I don't know if Ken did this on one of his solo albums, but I definitely feel it could have fit in well on one of his solo albums as well.
It may look like the start, but it could be the end. I'm not trying to bring you down. I'm so tired of running around. I won't make the same mistake
Wow, certainly some wonderful organ swells in there, maybe a little too powerful for the song. But it's interesting because I was talking in the last version about how maybe some of those long sustained notes were really designed to have an improving vocal over it, like this version had. But the other one didn't have the vocal, but it kept the music the same as it faded out. This one does have the vocal, and the organ's kind of doing the same thing, but a little more, there's a few more swells. But it's definitely an interesting version. I like it. I think it could have gone on longer. This is actually a much shorter song. It's just under 3 minutes. And the other one, I think, was a little over 4. But there, the passion is still there. You could see how the song developed from one, like, maybe this is just a demo that Ken did on his own. He brought it to the band and they're like, yeah, that's cool. What if I did this? And, somebody else said, well, what if I tried that? And then how about we bring in the drums here? That sort of thing. That's how a band develops, and develops a song. And that's why I don't really care about credits that much, because I guarantee you that people in the band put their influence into all these songs, or at least the majority of them. It's really hard for me to imagine that Ken would have come in and told everybody, here's exactly what you're playing and how you're going to play it. No, everybody adds their personality to the song. And I believe that this was credited to Hensley and Wetton, if I'm not right. Then someone will let me know, or I'll find out later. But in any case, it's really a contribution of the whole band. Every song on an album is. It's very rare that people don't dictate something on the album. They don't have some kind of personal input for their instrument. So credits don't really mean that much to me. It's really more for who gets paid. Because if it's a band, the band does the song together. That's what I've always maintained. But when you're in the band, it does matter, because then it deals with how you get paid. And since that is your sole support of income, typically, is your band, then those things do matter. And people argue over them, bands break up over them. And it's so much more important to break up over money than it is to keep playing and keep earning money and making new things to get new money. But that's how it goes. Music can be a very adversarial and territorial process, even when you're in a band that is completely united, getting along beautifully. Those things can still break a band in half. And it's a shame, because I think a lot of great bands and a lot of great lineups of bands have fallen apart just on that sole purpose of money. But that's life. That's how it goes. I don't know how much that happens now, but I would imagine it hasn't changed all that much. It is the way that the business works. It's what the business encourages, just by the way it's set up. And it's a shame, because I think sometimes the creative arts suffer because of things like that. Certainly, it suffered in many, many ways over the years over money. But at the end of the day, this is a song that was recorded and given to us to be able to enjoy. And I like it. I think Take Care is a great version of Footprints in the Snow. And I'm glad that they included it on the CD, because I think it certainly has a place there. I could definitely see this fitting into one of Ken's solo albums, though. So I'll have to see if he did it. I wouldn't be surprised. It suits him very well. But in any case, it's a great song. And that is our week, you guys. Thank you for hanging out with me for another week, and have a safe weekend. Do something fun. Do something fun for somebody else. Make it a great world for everybody. Take care, guys. Cheers. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Uriah Heep, the Magicians Podcast. If you have enjoyed this show, please consider going over to Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast outlet, leaving a rating or a review. Be sure to subscribe to make sure that you are notified when new episodes are available. Please be sure to share this podcast with your fellow Uriah Heep enthusiasts and anyone who you think would like Uriah Heep, which should be everyone. And if you are so inclined, please feel free to contribute to the Patreon account. And if you are not a Patreon subscriber, you can also pay through the PayPal link on the website listed in the show links below. I would also like to thank Uriah Heep for their very generous support of the show, and thank you guys for listening. We'll see you in the next episode. Happy days!